All right, let's jump right into this explainer because we are unpacking something truly mind-bending today. We're going to be exploring the fascinating and admittedly controversial texts known as the Gnostic Indictment. These documents propose a radically different view of our universe. They suggest that what we've always been taught to call gravity might actually be a complete disillusion, and that the ancient magic you read about in history books, well, it's actually just highly classified, suppressed physics.
It's a massive question, isn't it? What if ancient magic was literally just suppressed physics? To figure that out, we have to step away from traditional textbook history for a bit. Instead, we're going to run a forensic audit of material science, modern aerospace patents, and acoustic physics to see if the so-called impossibilities of ancient architecture are in fact the exact blueprints from modern, classified tech.
And this quote right here brilliantly captures the core thesis we'll be untangling. According to these source texts, the universe isn't just a collection of static, solid objects bumping into each other. It's a dynamic symphony of frequency. And if frequency dictates form, the logical conclusion is absolutely staggering. Those who understand and control the frequency literally control reality itself.
So, let's kick things off with Section 1, the Grand Illusion.
Let's start by looking at the architectural impossibilities of ancient Egypt and compare that against the mainstream historical narrative we've all been sold, because this is where the traditional story completely falls apart physically. The official narrative tells us that Bronze Age peasants used copper chisels to carve Aswan red granite. Well, Aswan granite is incredibly rich in quartz, which rates a 7 on the Mohs scale of mineral hardness. Copper, that rates a 3. The empirical evidence shows that you simply cannot cut a 7 with a 3 without instantly destroying your tool. The official narrative isn't just unlikely, it is a mathematical and metallurgical impossibility.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Giza power plant.
Think about it. If the Great Pyramid of Giza wasn't a tomb painstakingly carved by peasants with soft metal tools, then what exactly was it? To answer that, we have to look at it like an engineer auditing a machine. The Great Pyramid was originally encased in brilliant white Tura limestone. This specific type of limestone contains practically zero metallic content. In electrical engineering terms, this makes the entire outer shell a perfect, massive dielectric insulator. It acted as an incredible thermal shield and a Faraday cage, specifically designed to trap immense energy inside what was essentially a multi-gigawatt capacitor.
Now check out the core of this machine. The king's chamber isn't made of insulating limestone. It's built entirely out of 70-ton blocks of red rose granite, which, like we mentioned, is up to 55% quartz crystal. Quartz is highly piezoelectric. That means when you apply physical pressure or intense acoustic vibration to it, the crystal lattice physically alters and generates a massive high-voltage electrical charge. The chamber wasn't a burial room. It was a solid-state transducer.
All right, moving into Section 3, the physics of sound.
So, what mechanical force was triggering this massive piezoelectric battery sitting right in the middle of the Giza Plateau? The answer is acoustic resonance. Independent acoustical engineers have found that the king's chamber acts as a perfect Helmholtz resonator, tuned to precisely 110 Hz. And it's not just about generating electricity. Actual brain scans from UCLA show that exposing a human to a mathematically precise 110 Hz standing wave literally suppresses the analytical left brain. It forces the mind out of a low-frequency survival state and hyperactivates coherent consciousness.
And get this, it wasn't an isolated incident. Across the globe, from the subterranean Osiris shaft in Egypt to the hypogeme in Malta, these ancient windowless stone rooms all shared the exact same math. They were constructed as exact multiples of a 3.12-meter acoustic wavelength. They were global solid-state resonance engines built specifically to amplify this exact mind-altering 110 Hz frequency. And fascinatingly, this deep understanding of acoustic resonance didn't entirely die with the ancients. It mysteriously resurfaced in Florida in the 1920s, which we are absolutely going to get into in a second.
Let's dive into Section 4, Reverse Engineering Antiquity.
Remember those impossible granite cuts we talked about? When we look at the Petrie cores, these are ancient granite drill cores found at Giza. They show a spiral feed rate of 0.1 inches per revolution. Fast forward to today, NASA and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory hold a patent for ultrasonic machining. By vibrating a tool at extremely high frequencies to shatter aerospace ceramics, they achieve the exact same microscopic high-frequency hammering. The ancient builders weren't carving stone, they were sonically disintegrating it.
But we don't just have to look at ancient history to see this in action. Back in the 1920s and 30s, a frail 100-pound man named Edward Leedskalnin built Coral Castle in Homestead, Florida, entirely alone. Working only at night, he excavated, carved, and moved over 1,100 tons of oolitic limestone. Some of those blocks weighed up to 30 tons. When asked how he did it, Leedskalnin stated flat out that he had discovered the secrets of the pyramid builders. He didn't use cranes or pulleys, he used the exact same acoustic physics. He utilized acoustic levitation and built a radio frequency magnetic generator to literally lower the mass of the coral, tuning it to the exact resonant frequency of the stone. He proved the physics worked decades before NASA secured their modern patents.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, the Tic Tac patents.
So how does this acoustic physics apply to the hypersonic, gravity-defying maneuvers of modern black-budget platforms like the Tic Tac or the TR-3B? Well, according to the source texts, these crafts absolutely do not rely on jet fuel or mechanical engine blocks. Instead, they use highly engineered materials like barium titanate. When you pulse millions of volts of direct current into this crystal, it rapidly expands and contracts. It acts like a giant piezoelectric speaker, creating an intense anti-gravity effect, all while generating this terrifying, bone-rattling acoustic hum that witnesses constantly report hearing.
The hardcore mechanics of this are actively detailed in U.S. Navy patents, most notably those by Dr. Salvatore Pais. Through the science of cymatics and acoustic standing waves, you can actually create an acoustic node where the upward acoustic radiation pressure mathematically cancels out the downward force of gravity. In physics terms, it's turning F equals mg down to zero. By following these exact steps, generating a massive electromagnetic field to polarize the vacuum, the craft completely nullifies its own mass and inertia. It essentially becomes a ghost in the machine of reality, slipping frictionlessly through space-time in its own pocket of air.
But this leads to an incredible navigational challenge. If you are encased in a polarized vacuum or a superheated plasma wake, you are totally blind to radar and sonar. So how on earth do you fly underwater at Mach speeds? You navigate by gravity. The Earth's gravitational field is naturally lumpy. Using something called a quantum gravity gradiometer, these crafts literally feel the microscopic changes in the mass of the Earth beneath them. They see the ocean floor through gravitational pull alone.
Let's wrap up with Section 6, the Suppression Protocol.
So, if nature and ancient civilizations solved the physics of gravity and resonance thousands of years ago, why is humanity kept in the dark? Well, the intelligence community's involvement goes way back, and it runs incredibly deep. At the end of World War II, Operation Paperclip didn't just extract rocket scientists. It absorbed the Nazi Ahnenerbe files, which detailed a global search for this exact ancient acoustic technology. And remember Edward Leedskalnin? When he died in 1951, the intelligence community reportedly raided his Coral Castle property to confiscate all of his notes. They couldn't let the public realize that gravity was just a frequency that could simply be turned off. By the 1950s, the CIA was covertly auditing the Sphinx while simultaneously launching Project MKUltra, a dual-pronged effort to hoard the math of acoustic resonance while intentionally keeping humanity locked in a low-frequency survival state.
And make no mistake, they knew exactly what they were doing. This 1963 internal review from CIA Inspector General Lyman Kirkpatrick proves it. He explicitly stated the need to conceal these activities from the American public. By invoking the National Security Act, they built an unassailable legal firewall to hide their domestic operations, burying this suppressed physics behind the absolute veil of national security.
As we conclude this explainer, you really have to ask yourself a profound question based on these sources. If gravity is not an absolute constant, but just a frequency that can be mathematically turned off, what else about our reality is waiting to be rewritten by the science of sound? Are we standing right on the threshold of an ancient acoustic awakening, or will this suppression protocol maintain the illusion forever? I highly recommend digging into these texts further. It's a deep rabbit hole, and it will fundamentally change how you view the physical world around you.